Welcome to CDR Live. I am so happy today to have Kim Leveridge with me today, my founding business partner. And so today I'm just so excited to celebrate Women's History Month with Kim. We try to do something special every year during Women's History Month, and this is it. And for me, what's really exciting too is Kim left the day-to-day business to go on her way and do many great things in 2012. So it's been a while since we really worked side by side. So today, for me, is just a special thrill to have her here with me to reminisce. And at CDR Companies, we're celebrating 25 years in business this year. So Kim and I founded the company in Tulsa, Oklahoma on October 5th, 1998. And before I get into some of those stories, though, I do want to tell you a little bit about Kim and her background. And then what the plan is, we're going to talk about what it was like in the early days and some memories that we share and so forth. Towards the end, I want to come back to what Kim's doing today. And she's doing some wonderful work. I'm so excited for her and for the organization and state that she's serving. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But first, welcome, Kim.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, Nancy. It's good to see you.
Good. So going backwards a little bit, I met Kim. Actually, I was her client back in the days when she was with Hogan Assessment Systems, and she was completing her PhD, her dissertation, doing a lot of research. Her degree from the University of Tulsa is a PhD in IO psychology, and she also received her BA from OU in organizational communications. And I think are you a fourth or fifth?
I'm a third generation.
Oh, you're third generation.
The fourth generation.
Okay, and Amanda, her daughter, is the fourth generation OU grad. So we've got a lot of tradition there with OU. So that's exciting. And I have some family members that are grads of OU too. So it's a big deal to us as well. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so I met Kim, and then later, both of us for a short time. I was at Hogan for a short time as well. So not only was I her customer first, and we could talk about that experience, and then we worked together side by side and actually developed some of their first certifications and some other work together. So that was a lot of fun. And I'll come back to, obviously Kim is an expert in assessment work, leadership development, teams, communications, selection screening, succession planning, you name it when it has to do with talent. She's there, she's got it, she's done it. She's a great thinker, she's very creative, and she gets the numbers really well too. So that's always a plus in terms of research. She's great at research. Let's see. And I would say after she left in 2012, she was my business partner and active from 1998 to 2012. And after that, she went to Nordam, Williams Companies in an HROD capacity. And today is with the, what are you with today? It is the Oklahoma. Yeah, she's the Vice President of Professional Development for the Oklahoma Center for Nonprofits. So a great role across the whole state of Oklahoma, dealing with nonprofits, helping them with their leadership. And I can attest to that's not an easy role. We do work with some nonprofits and have over the years. It's our passion, but it's different than working in business organizational life. So kudos to you for doing that work. I know I left out a lot, Kim. You're the go-to expert. The other thing that she does today, by the way, she is still one of my business partners, so I'm excited about that. And she's also our scientific advisor as well. So she stays connected to us. She knows what we're doing. And when we need help on research or other key issues, she's there for me. And I really appreciate that. And the other thing, on occasion, she'll even do a short coaching engagement for us, which is great because she is an outstanding coach, the best. And, we used to commonly teach executive coaching certification together. We've both worked a lot on that. And, Kim is definitely the go-to executive coach. So I can't say enough. That's a little bit about her background. She has a daughter, Amanda, who is, as we said, a OU grad, and she's also in your area in Oklahoma City, correct?
Yes, she is, and she's a therapist, works with children and families.
Great. So anyway, so now you know a little bit about Kim. I'm sure you'll learn more as we go on. But one thing I want to start with, because people might be a little shocked, is on October 5th, Monday, 1998. We moved into a very nice office at 51st and Yale, and we had like glass windows on our office. We were pretty excited about this. But then, Kim, you might tell us the story about what you did on Monday evening.
Monday, and what one does on a Monday is goes and works out. And so at the time, step aerobics was a big deal. And so I was taking a step aerobics class, and that evening proceeded to break both of my wrists by falling backwards. And we should add, not only did we just open our business, literally open the doors to our business, but I was trying to finish my dissertation.
Oh, right.
I needed to be typing a lot. And so
right.
I had casts on both arms. So this one was a normal cast. This one went over the elbow. So I couldn't touch my face, or it was very restricted. And that was a 6 or 8 week ordeal of me being.
Yeah, at least,
we opened the doors.
And, but she even did, came back, and, we still collaborated together on everything. And I will tell you this, though, it's a good thing too. I could type like the bat out of hell. Excuse me. I had very fast keyboarding skills from my earlier years. So but no, it was. And then also, if you'll remember, then I had 2 family members in the hospital at the same time. One due to an accident, due to Katie, due to soccer, a tib-fib, fracture, and then Bill had some other health issues that he ended up in the hospital. Mm-hmm. So we thought that was and that was all at that time frame. So we were like, is this an omen?
I have to tell you, Nancy, that the people who know me today, who maybe didn't know me 20 years ago, would have recognized that I injure myself, because I still do that. I mean, I'm still a person that, especially when I'm distracted or I have a lot on my mind, I will end up hurting myself. And so
no kidding.
The very first time that ever happened, but it is a thing for me, by the way.
Well, that's interesting. Now, I'm a bruise a minute, but I don't typically, but that's more of the aging process, I think, in my skin type. So, but no, that was just, but the one thing too that I was so proud of, we worked on those assessments, developing our assessments, our 3D suite, the character risks, and then in January finished our drivers of 1999, but we finished in 1998, the character and risks, which really were difficult. And I just remember what I loved about that, all the brainstorming. Do you remember too, and I tell classes this, at one point, we weren't even sure we were going to put numbers. Do you remember that whole discussion? Because numbers take a person somewhere we might not want them to go.
Yes, yeah. No, we brainstormed about a lot of stuff. It's amazing we got that much done when you figure that I had injured myself and literally couldn't function right.
Right. That's what.
Finished grad school, and we're trying to start a business.
Right. And I've got family members with issues. I mean, it was like, goodness, could you hit us with a little more? Maybe. Mm-hmm. I'm just kidding.
We also were very proud of the fact that we were a women-owned business. And,
oh, yeah.
In 1998, that was a bigger deal than it is now.
Right.
So.
And, we were one of the first in Oklahoma, if not the first, but one of the first to become a certified owned business with WeBank in the year 2000. And we've maintained that ever since. We still maintain it here down in Houston.
Yeah.
When we were in Tulsa, it was through the Dallas organization. But yeah, so we're proud of that. And we've just had, we have so many stories that we will talk about a couple of them. Mm-hmm. That's okay. And what we do in our business, we have our assessments. And then in 2000, we also developed, and Kim was spectacular too, on our 360 tool, which we still use with clients. So that came out as well. So we had the, why behavior manifests with our CDR 3D suite. And then we had the external observations with the 360 leader scan. But we work to, just so you know, we work with client organizations, and then we work with coaches, both executive coaches, internal and external, to certify them and support them. Mm-hmm. And Kim still does that in your role today. You've helped a number of coaches even in your business today. So we certainly appreciate that. Now, some of the early clients were interesting too, let's think of it. You might think of one of a story or two about, we had just to name drop a couple. We had CR Bard, we had Lehman Brothers using our 360 and did a lot of work throughout the organization. Sunoco, Explorer Pipeline, Chubb. We even had some Bank of America. Daimler Chrysler was big for us.
Right.
Anheuser-Busch, Illinois State University for some period of time was really, really big with us. So there's some of the early, but there were more.
Sprint as well, you'll recall.
Who's that?
Sprint.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and then, but the other thing that really stays with you are the coaches that were with you all along. Either some of them start internal, then go external, or they move from company to company. It's a lot of different dynamics. So we had Donna Dennis early on, and Marianne Roy,
Mhm.
and Maureen Pryor. I mean, there was just some names from the past. Bob Silva,
Yep.
and I have kind of not, I'm not in touch with Bob today, but Bob was instrumental in bringing us what we call the Alexel group today,
Mhm.
the Simon Vetters, Patricia Wheelers, Sarah Jane
I
Radin.
want to say Matt Starsevich has commented earlier, and he's actually on. He was
Oh, okay, great,
I
great.
called him out in this conversation because he was also one of the coaches. But I was thinking about, you remember when Daimler Chrysler we were working with them in Detroit, and
Right,
they wanted to expand to Germany.
correct.
And I got a phone call, and they said, we need someone who can be a German speaking coach. And I said, absolutely, we can do that. And then we scrambled to find a German speaking coach and get
Right.
trained up so that we could garner
Yeah.
that. I remember that very vividly.
And that was Simon Vetter.
That was
He's
Simon.
Swiss, and I still engage with Simon on a lot of different things today. So he's in the Alexel group, which I'm part of. So he's and he's back and forth from Switzerland to San Diego. He kind of does half time. So no, that was great. I mean, we just said, yeah, we can do that. Certainly we can.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, and I'll jump to today or a few years back when the Department of Defense or the U.S. Army Civilian University asked us, well, can you come up with some kind of digital or avatar coach? I said, well, yeah, I think so. Let me get on that. And I didn't have a clue how we would get it done.
Yeah.
We did it,
That's the entrepreneurial spirit, though, isn't it?
Yeah, right, right. And it was a great idea. I mean, and so tell me, I know there was something that always left, just made me feel good as a provider, as an organization. Is you did tons of work for Lehman Brothers. I mean, just year after year before the other issues happened in 2008. But I remember once when we underbid something. You might want to talk about that. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Where we put a quote in, but then had to do.
Yeah, the first thing I want to say is that one of the things about Lehman Brothers is the person who was our champion in the organization was also very entrepreneurial in spirit. And so there was a synergy between us.
Yeah.
Was pretty fun to manage and work through. And I was impressed with, I think one of the things I enjoyed the most was when you mentioned they had done 360 work, they were doing 360 work and then following people to see how the 360 looked the next year and the year after that.
Right.
In between, not just saying, here's a 360, but also coaching in between and looking for those numbers to change over time. So that was very outside the box at the time. And so I wanted to give Lehman that credit. And I don't remember the details maybe as well as you do, Nancy, so I may tee it back to you, but I think what you're referring to is when we bid and they felt like we had not bid high enough. Was that?
Well, it was, we bid and we started the work, but then they expanded the project.
Mm-hmm.
They kept giving, remember that you had to keep going to more and more and more. And that wasn't like within the original scope, but we said, you and I remember saying, well, we just have to buck it up and do it. Yeah. and then they came back to you. What was a blessing, I thought, was really spoke highly of them and your relationship with them. They came back and said, we know you did extra work and we want to pay you for it. And so they did, and they asked us all those extra hours we'd put in, but we were kind of just sucking it up going, oh my gosh, I guess we live and learn.
We underbid this and here we go. Yeah, no, and I had forgotten that, Nancy, so I'm really glad you brought that back around. And I think you nailed it in that the most important thing about that was the relationship piece.
Right.
You know, so that the person feels like they have, not an obligation, that's not the right thing, but a commitment to you as a person. That allows them to think outside of the business relationship and do the things that are right and fair.
Yeah, and we didn't have the heart to say anything or the nerve, whatever it might be,
power or the authority or anything.
Yeah, right. We just didn't feel we felt like it was our mistake to not do a little better job in how we scoped it out. But anyway, they were fabulous, and that always touched me to show. And we do always and continue to really try to help our clients in a special way and our coaches. I see Matt Starsevich is on the line, and Matt is one of our certified coaches. I have to tell a quick story about Matt. Matt is from Bartlesville, Oklahoma, and he did go through our certification after a couple of years, right? However, Matt, before CDR, when I was on my first entrepreneurial thing after I left Sun Oil and Williams companies, Matt certified me on teaching coaching skills for leaders. So he certified me, then we circle back and I certified him.
How it goes, though.
Isn't that funny? And he still does coaching for us. And he wrote the first book. And I have to tell you, if you're trying to get leaders to help coach others in the organization as leader coaches, he wrote The Coach back in like late 1980s, early 90s. And it's still great because it was an 8-step coaching model that people that are more prudent or more logical, more operations oriented really get the 8 steps, because coaching can get messy.
Yeah.
So I always thought his model, I still will give the model out and refer people to his book today. Doesn't matter if it's dated, it works.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyway, good. Let's see what else. What other kind of fun things? I mean, for me too, we got to work with the Pentagon. And Leslie McDade Morrison, wait, you have to hear how she found us. We used to do a paper newsletter. Do you remember? And we'd have my kids.
It was the ROI one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was your ROI article. But here's the funny thing. We would do this newsletter and my kids would act as our mailroom. When they were like in junior high, they had to come in and they had to like fold and put them in those, the containers to go out to ship.
Of course. They're working all the time.
And they would proofread. They would proofread my stuff or our stuff because they catch things in 7th and 8th grade. They're good at grammatical things and that kind of. So it was really kind of funny. We used the whole family. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I got a call one day. I'll never forget it, from Colonel Stringer at the Pentagon. He had read Dr. Brinkmeyer or Dr. Leveridge's. Dr. Leveridge's article on ROI, on leadership development, and he said, so the chief learning officer wants to talk and find out more about this. So it was Kim's article in this, and we only had a subscriber list of about 2,000. It wasn't like a huge mailer.
No, we didn't spend a lot of money on those lists.
If it was even that big, I'm not sure it was that big, but somehow she got it. She read it. She had Colonel Stringer call us. And what we used to do back then too is give a complimentary coaching feedback so they could view the assessments firsthand. We did that. Leslie loved it. She became a key client. We did work at the Pentagon. Then she brought us to the Army. And I have to say though, for me, I was the one that got to go to the Pentagon 2 or 3 times, and I just loved it. It was my going on, just taking the tours. And I remember back then Rumsfeld was in. Mm-hmm. And Leslie took me to peek into his office. And the other thing that was interesting to me was he didn't even have a chair or a seat anywhere. The man never sat down. I mean, I know that's weird, that's quirky, but for me, that was like,
interesting.
It's different. Mm-hmm. But anyway, and Leslie was visionary. Leslie was the one that came up with the idea for our now CDRU coach. And the other thing that she did was she linked our assessments. You remember they had us work through where we had to link to all their competencies, their executive core qualifications at the Pentagon, that would then link to their LMS system. Yep. So once they were coached, then they had this direction as to what kind of learning should they take. So that was a lot of fun and working.
Which led to the work we did at Fort Sill.
Oh yeah, that was yours.
That was fun because we were working with their virtual training environment, which again was very new at the time. Yeah. Like people weren't even doing these things, where they would train on, I think it was crisis fighting or various situations where they would be training. And our charge was to see if we could find a link between the assessments and how the soldiers did in that virtual learning environment.
Right, versus live fire. Right. So virtual versus how they would then do live fire.
It was so much fun being able to spend time on the base and watching some of their live fire activities and all of that. It was. Although
back then, if I might say, we were kidding you about going to see all the
soldiers. Yeah.
So that you got that great duty while we were back in the office.
It was hard, but I suffered through it.
Wait. But it was hard. But if you remember when you went out there, it was like over 100 degrees.
Oh yeah, I was desperately looking for shade anywhere. Yeah. Of course, I'm sitting there being the whiny person, the whiny.
Yeah. No, we're not hearing it because you got the views. You got the- I'm sorry. But that's how we were, we would kid each other back then. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Oh, and I remember we had so many different coaching experiences. First of all, our workshops with executive coaches.
Mm-hmm.
What a time. I mean,
the funny thing about those would be that we would be working with a group of people who were a lot like us, trying to do entrepreneurial work,
right,
to build their own small business, etc. And so it would always be dynamic and fun and challenging. I can remember very vividly a whole group of people we were training to be coaches, and they were all talking at one time.
I remember that.
Upstagers, and I was like the only one in the room that didn't have an elevation on upstager.
Right.
I remember vividly standing at the top of the U the tables were in, and just watching them, everyone talking, like
Right.
and no one was listening. And I just stood there and watched everybody talking for a while, and then everybody kind of eventually turned and looked at me. And I was like, "Are we done? Can we move on?" It was so funny to get a group of people who are all very similar in the room, kind of going at it. It was
right. It was funny. And another time, what was that old mansion in Tulsa that we had?
I can picture it.
The banker's mansion. I'm sorry, what is the mansion there that was not far from our office?
Near the river parks. Yeah, I'll think of it in a second.
Yeah. Anyway, we had one there because we were trying to do that CES program for the University of Oklahoma. So we brought in additional coaches. Mm-hmm. And if you'll remember that one, that is a beautiful old mansion. And actually, Judith Glazier attended that one, and she's now passed away. But she did conversational intelligence, a lot of other things later. Mm-hmm. I had met her at a conference in Hawaii, so she came to our workshop. But she was playing the piano.
Yes, I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, and everybody was singing. So I mean, there were all kinds of like fun, different sorts of things. Although, even when you look another way, though, we also had, one thing in terms of work experience, I remember we occasionally would do those, what do you call that? When someone is failing type of coaching.
Intervention.
Yeah, the interventions. And that's a different type of coaching where we go in for kind of half a day in the afternoon, half a day in the morning. And I remember once I was going into it, we weren't even sure if you and me wanted me to go because it was a pretty volatile situation at a university. Do you remember that? And in the end, it went great. I went, he was wonderful. They responded well. The organization did the right thing. It turned out he was not in the right job for himself. Mm-hmm. And he was aggravated because
there isn't there
problem.
If someone's struggling, there's almost
always there. They're always a non-fit. In this case, it was severe. Like he had like under 5% leadership energy, very low adjustment, low interpersonal. So he wasn't handling the stress very well, but they weren't helping him. They just kind of shut him away. And he became very belligerent, a lot of issues. But I think he was just shocked to have somebody talk to him and listen to him, mm-hmm. And it went well. And we helped him. They redesigned a new job that he could be successful at. So mm-hmm. I'm just saying there were times that were weird like that. Another time, do you remember we were driving to Oklahoma City? I'm going back a little. It was 9/11.
We were driving to Dallas.
Dallas, that's right. We were driving to Dallas because we were on the Indian National Turnpike.
And again, this was before streaming radio. This was before, right. So you would just, you'd get on your radio and try to find a station.
There's nothing out there, hardly.
And we were completely like oblivious. And then I think we heard something on the radio, and then we pulled in to get gas. We stopped at a truck
in Atoka.
The TV.
I know.
My father called me.
Right, and my dad, Bill called me, to say,
He was like, because my mom was in DC, and he was like, "We're fine," I was like, "What's going on?" It was so crazy.
Yeah, and it really felt we were doing some kind of a workshop and what have you. Of course, everybody became disengaged, obviously inappropriately, but it was very, for me personally, it was hard to be away from family and for us to be kind of, you felt like you didn't really know what was going on or parts.
I think we pretty much we went to the workshop we were supposed to be doing, but it ended up just kind of petering out.
So
then we stayed at the hotel, but I felt like we were just kind of, I don't know, ghostly figures walking around. It wasn't.
Yeah, it was
another memory in a long line of memories.
Yeah, so that was kind of, and then I do remember one of our clients was part of their building was taken out, so we didn't get paid for like 7 or 8 months from that particular client. But
that's Nancy, you already mentioned Lehman Brothers.
Yeah,
Lehman was smack dab in the middle of 9/11.
Yeah, yeah.
And we actually, for a long time, we didn't work with them because they were just trying to get everything back together. Their business wasn't functioning, and it definitely had an impact. You know, when we had just started our business, essentially at the beginning of '99, and here in 2011, we're dealing with. 2001, 9/11, we're dealing with these crises in the country that are going to affect economy. We went through some stuff.
We did. I mean, just incredible times, different things happening to our clients or what have you.
And you know, we weren't always agreeing. That's another part of our dynamic. We didn't always agree on everything.
Kim and I are very different. You can probably tell, right? But it worked. It worked because whatever, you know, we just had different things that, you know, give and take or different ideas and different ways of articulating or whatever. And I think it was a great blend, you know, and yes, she used to coach me a little. Oh, Wait. But I do have to say something that I thought about as I was thinking about you, is you've actually, when my girls were teenagers, first, my girls are highly successful executive women now. They were on
they're badasses.
2 years ago, you know, both senior leadership doing great. But when they were teenagers and we were in CDR early, on separate occasions, Kim was kind enough to kind of coach them in her way.
Katie and I were pretty good buddies. You know, she was a little older, and we could, you know, I remember she and I having some good conversations. And Angela, it was just they were just different. They were both great.
Oh yeah.
It was just teenager stuff, you know.
I know.
But I would just chip in. I would give them my 2 cents. And there are those who will tell you that I will always tell you what I think. And
it helped. I mean, because you know how daughters can clash, but when someone else comes in that they respect, that was kind of helpful. You know. But anyway, they were great kids. Don't get me wrong, but they were teenagers.
Yeah,
and they're doing.
But sometimes it's having someone else's perspective.
Yeah. So, and then, by the way, so we did, of course, when Lehman shut down, we did lose that. Obviously, lost that work. But then, you know, what's really interesting when you've been in business this long, usually something springs from it when you do good work. And so then we had Nomura for a number of years, based out of Hong Kong, who bought the assets of Lehman. So we were doing a lot of executive coaching globally for Nomura. So that was a lot of fun, that project. I really enjoyed.
And I was just, as you said that, I was thinking about late night coaching and early morning coaching because
that's right.
Because they were in different time zones. And so in order for us we would accommodate their time zone versus the other way around. So
right. Because they're our clients.
One might just be getting on a coaching call at 8 p.m. If we were working with an Asia client, for example. So it definitely was a different challenge.
It was.
It was a lot of fun.
And some of them had that kind of trader profile, like an energy trader. Some of them are really edgy. Mm-hmm. So that always adds the interest too, you know. And over the years, I really enjoy those profiles. I mean, I think earlier when you're first coaching, it may be a little tougher, but we've done so much of it. I don't know about you, but I kind of look forward to it.
Yeah, I have some great stories from working with edgier people, and it can be a little intimidating. But what I found, and this has been true of when I was still at CDR, and all the years since. If we're talking about executive assessment and coaching, I can be in a place just before the call where I'm like, okay, here we go, another coaching client. You know, we all have our moments where you're kind of getting through the day. And the minute I get on the call, the minute I'm with someone, it's always great. It's always a wonderful opportunity. I always learn something cool about them. They always support me, you know. So there's a lot of personal pleasure I get just from having those conversations.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same thing too. It's like I always, when I'm working with coaches, getting them ready, is you need to put your coaching face on. Where is your client coming from? Mm-hmm. That's what you've got to be ready for and be best suited to help them from where they're coming from, and so no, they're fun. I had one thing too that was unusual. I don't know if you remember, but we did a lot of work for Rexall in Canada too, right? And we had one of their key people was being interviewed for another position with Weston Foods.
Oh yeah.
And he said, well, I don't know if I want to take this job unless you'll do a CDR on the CEO to see if, and the president to make sure I'm a good fit. So we said, yeah, but we have to coach that person first, which we did. He agreed and we did. And turned out they weren't a fit. So no job offer was tendered. So it was a win-win. You don't want to go into a situation where
you might go oopsie, but in that case, they wanted it to be that way.
Yeah. And I was so happy that, that Weston Foods, that he was agreeable to doing that back then. I thought that was terrific. And then, we have, of course, the other thing I have enjoyed too, in addition to we've worked with different corporations in every industry, from energy, trucking, chemical, banking, healthcare, a lot in healthcare. We do the Alaskan South Central Foundation is still with us today. And we worked with the Native Alaskan Foundation as well. But also we've worked with a number of universities. One of our early key universities was Illinois State.
Yes.
Remember, with Jim Jones and Rick Ringer and all those folks, where we did a number of different workshops. And do you remember the time you were actually in Normal, Illinois? I had done something.
I remember.
You became so sick. Remember?
I knew when I landed that I knew that when I landed, I was in trouble. And you can't get to Normal, Illinois easily. So it's like 3 different flights, No. And I pulled up and had to get a rental car. And then I had to go to the drugstore to get some meds because I knew immediately I wasn't feeling well. And then I woke up. It was the second day. The first day,
it was day 2.
The first day I went through. The second day, I woke up and it wasn't going to happen. And we had to. I literally didn't leave the hotel room that whole day. And Nancy, in the days before Zoom, Nancy did
by phone,
virtual
I did her whole day by phone.
Someone else running the slides, maybe.
Right.
Or something. It was crazy, but we finished it. And then
I got it done. Yeah.
To get back, and your husband's called in a prescription for me to help me get through the night.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, my husband's a physician, family medicine, and does
me, get help right away.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that was I can't even imagine being in that situation. Now, some of the other, and then of course we've worked with Oklahoma City University for a very long time. We really enjoy our relationship, and actually it was Mike Williams, who used to be at Illinois State, brought us to.
I forgot about that.
Oklahoma City University. We work with Bob Greavy, Steve Agee, some just great people over there. And the other thing that, for me too, were you with us when we started with IE, Instituto de Empresio in Madrid, Spain?
No, I'm not familiar with them.
Okay, that's another one that's been a lot of fun, and I've done workshops in Madrid, which of course is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well,
Marta Williams, yeah.
That we haven't included in this story, which is we also did the translations. When you mentioned, because the client that wanted multilingual versions of the assessments, and again, we went sure, and we got it done. So there are still 4 versions now, Nancy. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're active in 3 where we've actually re-updated. The Spanish and French. Okay. We still have German and Italian. They're kind of in the back burner though, but we can update them quickly. Yeah. And we're looking to add Spanish to CDR Coach to start. But we will do, like you said, we'll get any language done for our clients. If there's a need, we're going to get it done. Mm-hmm. So Christine Klatt, is on my team now. She does a great job in all that, getting that all organized. Let's see. So let's talk about a little bit. Anything else I just remember the other thing I want to say. We laughed a lot. Yeah. I remember laughing till my stomach hurt. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many times. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, and that's really important for me personally, is an environment that's relaxed and fun. And so we were able to create that environment. I also want to say, to you that we haven't given you enough credit from the early part of this relationship, in that when I was working at Hogan Assessments, and I was there for 6 years total, but I was still figuring out what my dissertation topic was going to be and where I was going to get data for my dissertation. This is no small thing for a PhD student. Where are you going to get data? Unique, interesting data. And Nancy was at Williams, and we were doing some work with her and basically got me my data. I set up a research project, and she made it happen there at Williams. So I want to say you need the credit for that too, for opening the door for me to help me finish up my degree.
Oh,
Because that was
yeah.
huge.
And when you said what you need, I'm like, yeah, we can get that done. Of course we can. So it was like,
oh my gosh, that's like, thanks so much.
so no, that's great.
Because one of the things that is really important is that people are there to open doors for us, right?
Oh, right.
So you opened the doors in that corporation so that I could get data I needed, which, by the way, informed the corporation on some things they could be doing that, it was beneficial for both, but we needed someone to open the doors, and you did that. And we had people for us open the doors in our business.
Sure.
Many times. And so I think maybe that's the takeaways, that we should be looking for those opportunities to open doors for people, especially during Women's History Month.
Right, exactly. And we try, and of course, I've written the 2 research-based books to help women in leadership, to help them understand what really often holds them back are their own risks. And when you're not aware of them, they kind of just run amok, they keep going, and they could be what's really causing people to view you as non-leader like, or not having enough potential, when yet you may have far more potential than any of these other people that are your competitive groups, right? Other candidates. So knowing yourself, I mean, for me, the whole thing, even why you might think all these years, why are you still doing this? Well, we're trying to help people be self-aware, understand their really true talent and their gifts, and even their, what they love, as well as their risks, so they can find their best paths forward.
We're still learning, by the way. In feedback sessions, there's been, in the last 2 years, a couple of big moments for me using CDR where I'm like, I've never thought of it that way before. Twice. And I've been using CDR for 20 plus years, and I still have moments where I'm like, oh, that's a new way for me to look at that. So that's the other part of it. When you really open your brain up, when you're working with folks, you're learning the whole time.
Right. And the other thing for me, over the many years, I've coached college kids as a favor to parents or customers, and every one of them was in the wrong major. Now, of course, they're being asked to be coached, but it still begs the question. And when we did all that work with veterans, we coached over 70 veterans live. 55% of them had low career focus, meaning they didn't know what they wanted to be when they grew up. So they go in the military, but guess what? When they come out, they don't know what they want to do. So we help them. And it's those aha moments and those nuggets that they're like, I had no idea.
I also really appreciate the opportunities we've had with teams. I'm remembering one very specifically that was, I believe, a financial group. And the way that they understood each other better after the conversation really can change the trajectory of a team. Right? So giving people the opportunity to see something differently is really what it's all about, whether it's at an individual level or team, But,
well, I agree. And actually, it's funny you say that. I love the coaching, but I almost love the team development more, because the self-awareness is great. But then when you can actually help them see each other differently, understand their differences versus potentially misjudging them, if somebody's detached or something else, no, they're not stuck up. They're stressed, so they're moving away.
Yeah.
So, and that's been a lot of fun. So tell us now, and like I said, I could go on and on, we're about some of our memories there. And I do want to give a call out to our coaches.
I remember going to your anniversary party and your Christmas parties, and like Nancy throws a great party. Let me tell you this, and the Halloween costumes. I didn't typically participate, but man, she and Bill would just have the best Halloween costumes. So Nancy's just a lot of fun. We had a lot of personal friendship moments.
Yeah, and do you know what I was this year, Kim?
What?
I was Medusa. It took me a couple months to make all the snakes.
But you did it, and you pulled it off. Good for you. What were you doing this year?
And Bill was Neptune, so that was a lot of fun.
Sure.
But I did have friends that wanted to attend and didn't, and they wanted to be, what was it, out of Yellowstone? Rip and Beth.
Oh, yeah. That's actually not even hard to make that costume either.
No, but it's hilarious when you think about it, you know. But that's true. That's what I mean. We laughed. And the one other thing I want to say before I turn it like a little bit back to Kim on some of the work she's doing today is that after you left, I realized how much I missed you. And I really, to this day, miss those discussions, some of the brainstorming. I mean, I have a wonderful team now. They're different though in what they do, and I adore them. I really do. But I didn't realize what kind of a hole it was. It took me a long time. And I still, I try to collaborate with others. For a while. Lynn, I don't know if you remember Lynn Pritchard. She kind of became my coach. And I had a couple of other people but it still wasn't the same. So anyway, I knew you needed to move on. I'm so proud of you. You're so talented. You've got to follow your heart. But it took a lot of adjusting, and I'm still not there. So I still pick your brain every now and then.
Yeah, no, we always will. I mean, we're friends for life, and for life, and we count on each other to think through things together. And
exactly,
we always have, and I appreciate that.
So
are you asking what I'm doing now?
Tell us more about what you're doing now.
So I am as you said, the Vice President of Professional Development at the Oklahoma Center for Nonprofits. At the Oklahoma Center for Nonprofits, we are also a nonprofit, and our mission is to provide opportunities for the nonprofits in Oklahoma, the other nonprofit organizations, to thrive and build capacity and feel capable to meet their missions in the most effective way. And so part of that is leadership development, team building. We do approximately 200 courses a year. And when you figure 365 days in a year, that's almost every day that we're providing some kind of learning opportunity for our member organizations. We sort of joke that we run a small college. So we have different credentialing that we do. We are a replicating partner for the Standards for Excellence, which is a national organization that provides evidence-based best practices for nonprofits. We credential a nonprofit management certification for folks who would like to have that, and provide support around fundraising, organizational development, change management, project management, everything you can think of that they might need in order to be successful. So I really enjoy it. There's a lot of variety in my work, which I really need a lot of. And so I can switch gears and build things and build curriculum and provide support to people through coaching and executive assessment. And so we brought CDR in to the nonprofit sector here in Oklahoma. We have hundreds of people now who have taken it. So we have our own little research study going with the nonprofit sector. I'm super excited about it. And we've made a difference with some coaching for folks and we use it also, Nancy, I think you'll appreciate this model. We use it in a particular leadership cohorts that we offer. So we have something called Navigators and something called Compass Group. One is for any leader at the level of the organization, and then Compass Group is for CEOs and executive directors only.
Okay, good.
We get CDR coaching, and then we spend 9 months together as a cohort going through some case studies, working through leadership concepts. And so it's a deep dive into both understanding self-exploration, but also how to manage different problems that might come up on a team through case study work. So we really use CDR in a lot of different ways. Plus, we have people that just hire us for coaching that we use it for.
Good. Yeah, and so I would suggest, we have a lot of our coaches that are certified who specialize in nonprofits or go out of their way to do, to offer so much of their time goes to nonprofit. Have you written anything, an article or a paper on what you're doing? That might be.
No, but we actually were just talking about that.
Okay, good. I would love to, we will post it, highlight it, push it around for you. Make sure, if you write it, we will call attention to it because we think
I appreciate that. No, and that is something that I think we need to do. I also just think the sector would be hungry to learn a little bit more about what we've learned through CDR about the leaders in Oklahoma. And I want to do a little plug for, our nonprofit sector is large. We employ as many people as oil and gas in Oklahoma.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's a very
Wow.
large sector. I mean, people don't think about it in that way.
No.
We have basically, I feel like the nonprofit sector is set up to succeed in ways that others aren't. And when you think about, for example, getting through the COVID crisis and the lockdowns, the framework of a nonprofit has a board, and that board is very active in making sure that that nonprofit has a sustainable business model.
Right.
So thinking about that, boards make sure that organizations have the right kind of revenues put away to survive crisis. They provide guidance around HR decisions, et cetera. And my point that I'm getting to is this. The advantage of the nonprofit sector is the way that we operate. It's also the challenge. But
Right.
small businesses do not have a board that is advising them.
Correct.
Right? That is something that is unique to the nonprofit sector, and it actually sets us up for success in a unique way. So I think other small businesses could learn from that. As a former small business owner and active,
Right.
you can learn from having other advisors who help you to make decisions. So we have a very strong sector, but there's always work to be done, and so we're happy here at OKC&P to be the ones that are helping them to, build
great.
businesses.
Yeah, and I honestly, as I said, we've worked with a number of nonprofits. I was with one yesterday, so it's kind of, I think they need more support. They're high humanitarian. We know some of the, what draws them in, but if they can all, you've got a great model going. I think the more help that they get, they're only going to continue to improve the reach.
They only need our help to the degree that anybody would that's trying to run a business, because the work they're doing is they don't need our help with their mission as much.
Oh, right. No, exactly. But the funny thing is, just like a lot of leaders, they don't get the leadership development. They don't get the self-awareness.
Well, they don't have the budgets for it.
Right, so exactly.
That's the other thing. We're able to, at OKC&P, provide reduced pricing through our funders and things like that makes it possible for nonprofits to attend these.
Exactly.
They wouldn't be able to spend thousands and thousands of dollars for a leadership program.
Right.
We're providing that quality education without, having to spend that kind of money.
Right. And some of our nonprofits are using CDR Coach first. It's a lower price point. Then we go in and do development so they can then ask their questions and that kind of thing. So that's a handy tool at a lower price point if you can't necessarily afford the life. Like you have a system. So it works.
Boards over time will increase their focus on professional development being part of the budget. That's also part of our role, is to help educate boards on what organizations need in order to be successful.
Good.
So
that's great.
Towards professional development.
Great. Now I'm excited. I mean, I want to see the paper or article. We'll call it the article. It doesn't have to be a formal academic paper, right? We'll do it with paper.
On that.
A good article would be great. So, and I think you're setting the model. I really do, because we work obviously across the nation on this stuff, and you're definitely setting the model. So great work. I knew you'd be doing all this. So you found your niche, and you're back in your home, Oklahoma City area.
I grew up in Oklahoma City.
Very cool with your family and so forth.
I love Tulsa though, so I don't.
I know. I still miss Tulsa. I just got invited to one of the executive women forum groups I belong to up there, and I'm thinking I might just go.
You should.
I still have a bank account at Bank of Oklahoma, so there.
Yeah,
I never severed it. So anyway, but this has been fabulous. Maybe we do a part 2 sometime.
I'd love to, Nancy.
But this was great. Thank you so much, for spending the time.
I'm so proud of you and the work you're doing too. So I just
want to thank you. So hope we have, we work together more and help a lot
Yeah,
become self-aware. So
thanks again.
It's a lot of fun.
We'll talk soon. I'm certain.
Okay. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.